At the closing ceremony of the 5th National Congress of the Federación de Mujeres Cubanas, the Federation of Cuban Women, or the FMC, Fidel Castro famously declared, "This revolution has really been two revolutions for women. It has meant double liberation, as part of the exploited sector of the country, and second, as women who are discriminated against, not only as workers but also as women." But to what extent does this hold true? Do Cuban women experience a revolution within the revolution? There are three easily identifiable reasons for the slow progress towards gender equality since the revolution. To begin with, the initial aim to alter the social role of women and liberate them from patriarchy was a government decision, suggesting that prior to a decision being opposed on them and a simple grassroots organisation being established, women were unaware or apathetic towards their own plight. Secondly, and in direct tension with the first point, though women were encouraged into the labour force in response to a dire need for maximum productivity, they were still pigeonholed towards particular sectors of employment due to firmly held opinions of their lesser capabilities, and are yet to hold a position of significant political power. Thirdly, and significantly less measurable than the prior hindrances, the deep-seated machismo of Cuban culture, the unwillingness of men to give up their patriarchal power and domestic authority.
Unlike other nations who implemented socialism, and belief that the discrimination against women would be resolved automatically with the elimination of oppression in general, the Cuban government immediately sought to better their social standing. To target the suppression of women, a grassroots organisation named the Federation of Cuban Women, or the FMC by its Spanish acronym, was set up and put into action. Women immediately appeared to benefit from the revolution, playing a monumental role in the 1961 Cuban literacy campaign. An estimated 91,000 women collaborated within the FMC to support the efforts, over half of volunteer teachers being women, who often had to leave their homes and travel to remote parts of the countryside, a far cry from the chaperone system of only a few years prior. As we saw in the 1968 film Lucia, some Cuban men were more than uneasy about the independence that education and potential income would afford women. Many wanted to keep their wives at home and under their control, rather than their patriarchal power being transferred to the state workplace, fearing a loss of honour should their wives be seduced whilst at work. As noted in Sex and the Revolution, sociologist Jeffrey Fox found that the revolution's efforts to change women's roles created extreme discomfort among working-class men, implying that the permitting of women to work outside the home may even have factored into the decision of some to leave Cuba. However, despite frequently encountering this machismo, over half the pupils who learned to read and write were women. In addition, women were greatly encouraged to participate in a larger number of further education programs that were soon to be opened. In 1968, recognising the need to integrate women into the labour force, both to boost production and to challenge old attitudes of the economic dependence and domestic isolation of women, the Cuban government launched a joint initiative with the FMC to incorporate 100,000 new women into the workforce each year. At this juncture, it would be unfair to say that the FMC was founded solely to solve the need for labour during the early years of the revolution, but it is not a stretch to suggest that Cuba required women join the revolutionary effort for both pragmatic as well as moral reasons. The campaign was mildly successful, drawing 40,000 new workers a year between 1969 and 1974, as women became, amongst other things, doctors, technicians and cane cutters, but also highlighted a number of problems in falling social.
Having analysed the issues hindering the struggle for women's equality, the FMC and the Cuban Communist Party initiated the Cuban Family Code, a law that served as an educational tool in publicizing the struggle for gender equality. This comprehensive code had many stipulations which challenged numerous traditional ideas of gender roles, and most notably included the following. Clause 24. Marriage is constituted on the basis of equal rights and duties of both spouses. Clause 25. Spouses must live together, be faithful to one another, consider and respect each other, and each mutually help each other. Clause 26. Both spouses are obligated to care for the family they have created and cooperate with each other in the education, formation, and guidance of their children in line with the principles of the socialist morality. Clause 27. The spouses are obligated to contribute towards satisfying the needs of the family they have created in marriage, each according to his or her faculties and economic capacities.
This code legislated significantly more rights for women both within the family and the society in general, and brought about great improvements in education, family income, and healthcare. In education, childcare facilities almost doubled, with more than 970 new schools being built, increasing the number of children enrolled from 54,382 in 1975 to 96,000 in 1981. Family economic stability was greatly increased, with both partners being able to work. Paid maternity leave was also made available, as was on-demand abortion and free-of-charge contraception. Having attempted to alter the roles of women for years, in the appalled view of many Cuban men, the revolution was now trying to impose on the function of them too, by removing patriarchal authority from the home. Despite their unhappiness, many men had to accept the code or risk being branded a machista counter-revolutionary. By guaranteeing equality for women, legitimizing consensual union, safeguarding the rights of children and mandating the equal division of household responsibility between partners, the code posed a radical new way of life in opposition to traditional Cuban roles of men and women, creating a family revolution within the revolution. A change of attitudes took place. With newfound economic independence, the family code made it much easier for women to divorce their husbands for being unfaithful, or not assuming domestic tasks. Having had it incorporated into the marriage vows, however, this was not a particularly useful threat, as divorce typically left women worse off, with total responsibility for both the home and children. However, from the earliest years of the revolution, it is plain to see that Fidel Castro envisioned the potential of harnessing the energy of his female supporters. The goal of reaching equality between the sexes afforded him with the legitimacy to encourage female participation in the workforce and move further toward his primary objective of increasing the quantity and production of Cuba's failing labour force. Obviously, Cuban law has advanced well beyond the pre-revolutionary patriarchal society described by Cuban lawyer Daniel A. Peral Collado to ensure a humiliating inferiority for women. The minimum ideological floor for sexual equality was comfortably reached, rather than simply declared to be a done deed and forgotten by Cuban officialdom, like racial equality.
So do women especially benefit from 3 decades of revolution? In most regards, yes, but to a limited extent. Certainly, the regime supported other aspects of the women's movement that were not congruent with or valuable to Castro's economic objectives, and women did in many ways gain important rights and status from some of the government's policies. In the same speeches where he noted the double revolution, Castro further elaborated, "It seems to us that women must still fight and exert great efforts to attain the place that they should really hold in society." Despite the great progress made during the 60s and 70s, patriarchy and machismo still exists in Cuban culture, whether it be in job roles, dress, stereotyping, or the arts. As concluded by historian Irina Hernandez, who noted in 1994, Cuban society continues to be phallocentric, and we women are very far from real power.